Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to 2019, the year we took our country back. I'm your host, Red Pill 78, the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill News on this first day of 2019, January 1st. I first wanted to begin with an amazing graphic that I found from Joe M. on Twitter today. It begins, number 1, Mueller issues his report. After Mueller issues his report, Trump will be removed from the oversight that the Mueller probe has over him and the things he wants to do, like namely, number 2, the FISA class. Once the Mueller report has been released, Trump will legally be able to safely reveal the Russian collusion scam that will be exposed by the declassification of the FISA documents. Then number 3, the indictments will be unsealed, because, as we know, the military tribunal executive order will have taken place. And then number 4, the military tribunals for treason and crimes against humanity will be able to safely take place. Then number 5, the nomination of new vacated positions confirmed in the Senate, 53 to 47, because we have the majority in the Senate. And then number 6, of course, the end of 190 years of Democrat subversion, corruption, and division. What a glorious year this will be. Thank you, Joe M., for bringing us this amazing graphic. Now, in related news, John Brennan is back. This is from the Gateway Pundit. Unhinged former CIA chief John Brennan lashes out at President Trump in year-end tweet. Former CIA chief turned Twitter troll John Brennan lashed out at President Trump again on Monday in a year-end tweet. On Monday, President Trump defended his decision to withdraw troops from Syria and Afghanistan. Trump says, "I am the only person in America who could say that I'm going to bring our great troops back home with victory and get bad press. It is fake news and pundits who have failed for years that are doing the complaining. If I stayed in endless wars forever, they would still be unhappy." How true, President Trump. John Brennan responded to President Trump's tweet on Monday with another shot across the bow. "It is my sincere hope that the forthcoming exposure of your malfeasance and corruption will convince enough Republicans to abandon you in 2019. We have had enough of your whining from the White House. We need an actual leader. Our nation's future is at stake. Oh, please don't arrest me." And we're supposed to believe that John Brennan didn't weaponize the CIA against Trump. President Trump revoked John Brennan's security clearance in August of this year. John Brennan, who perjured himself in a public testimony about the Russian dossier, routinely attacks President Trump from his Twitter account. Brennan previously warned the president about Mueller's investigation, saying, "Stay tuned, Mr. Trump. Brennan, Comey, Clapper, and everyone in Russiagate should be locked up." And God willing, they will be, now that it's a brand new year. And in other news from the deep state, we have a striking tweet from George Papadopoulos from just a couple days ago. George asked one question that Congress has failed to force those responsible to answer. Which Western intelligence agency was Joseph Mifsud working for? That answer will force a halt to this entire dark chapter in American history. Well, that is an excellent question. Which Western intelligence agency was Joseph Mifsud working for? Could it be that he was acting at the behest of our own John O. Brennan and our own Central Intelligence Agency? It would certainly make a lot of sense from the way this counterintelligence operation was run from the very beginning. And considering the history of Joseph Mifsud, I would have no doubts. And here I have a extremely compelling post on our favorite research board. As requested, here's a repost, this bread of a graphic showing the connections with small clarifications on the graphic and text here. POTUS had a OTR trip after his return from Iraq, listed that way on the schedule. At POTUS Schedule on Twitter posted a follow-up explaining what OTR means, off-the-record travel, no fanfare, with a link to an example YouTube video showing an OTR motorcade. Video showed POTUS motorcade on the afternoon of October 27th, 2017. Exact time of the video was only 29 minutes before Q1 was posted. The current post on POTUS schedule, pointing now to POTUS activities on that specific date and time when Q1 was posted, is an interesting coincidence. While the POTUS schedule post was informative about OTR, there is no obvious reason why it was necessary to post such an illustrative video at all when a written description would have sufficed, increasing the chance that the video is a clue. This Anon suggests we may want to take a look at POTUS activities on that afternoon, or since we know that POTUS equals Q plus and POTUS schedule is telling us what POTUS was in a slow motorcade at that time, maybe it's a hint that POTUS posted Q1 on that drive. Let's take a look. Okay, so Saturday, 29 December 2018, explanation of OTR, off the record, no fanfare. And then our poster is an off-the-record way for POTUS to communicate. Usually, POTUS MC motorcade equals 20 to 35 vehicles. OTR motorcade equals 8 to 15 vehicles. No presidential markings, minimal PD and press pool, no sirens unless needed, and stops at red lights when possible. All right, so this is an actual video of that motorcade. We'll leave that. I'll try to leave a link in the comment below. A nod towards POTUS Q connection. Could POTUS have posted Q1 on that drive? All right, so this was his events during that day. And POTUS schedule says only an example. The video is an example of OTR informal package motorcade, the best example found showing stop at red light and types and numbers of vehicles. Only an example. Slow OTR drive, in car for another 29 minutes. Then we have some information about the timing of that post. This is the very first post. Video taken 29 minutes before Q1 posted. POTUS schedule just featured this video and OTR day for POTUS. So I think that makes a lot of sense to me, knowing what we know about 17 plus, shall we say. This looks to me to be a very, very big crumb for us to pick up and munch on. From California, California's largest utility could face murder charges for sparking wildfires. From the Daily Caller. California's largest utility could face murder charges or manslaughter charges if found responsible for sparking recent deadly wildfires around the state, according to the state attorney general. California Attorney General Xavier Becerra, a Democrat, filed documents Friday with Northern California's federal district court, warning that the utility company Pacific Gas and Electric may face severe criminal charges if its operations or equipment are found to have sparked fatal wildfires, NBC News has reported. The Camp Fire torched roughly 150,000 acres north of Sacramento in November. It killed at least 86 people and is California's deadliest wildfire on record, according to California's State Fire Agency. The fire destroyed nearly 19,000 structures. The cause of the fire is still under investigation, but early reports suggest the disaster began with a broken PG&E transmission line. PG&E has acknowledged that its equipment may have started the campfire, and U.S. District Judge William Alsup ordered the utility on November 27th to investigate whether its equipment was responsible. The financial pressure on the California utility has increased as more deadly wildfires caused by the company burn parts of the state. The costs of the fires are also being passed on to PG&E ratepayers after outgoing Democratic Governor Jerry Brown signed legislation allowing the utility to increase power costs to cover expenses from wildfires. Good guy, that Jerry Brown. The insurance cost of damage done by the Camp and Woolsey fires, which burned in Southern California at roughly the same time, are estimated to range around $8.6 billion, according to the financial services company CoreLogic. California investigators found that PG&E equipment caused 12 of 15 major wildfires that hit the state in 2017. Environmentalists blame increasing temperatures from climate change for the fires, while President Donald Trump and Republicans call for better land management to reduce the risk of disaster. In addition to PG&E, Brown has taken heat for vetoing a 2016 bill that aimed at mitigating risk from utilities sparking wildfires. Good going, Jerry Brown. Why doesn't Jerry Brown get held responsible for manslaughter or for murder? Because the actions he took in vetoing that bill certainly added to the deaths that we saw from these horrific fires this year in 2018. Jerry Brown, glad you're going. Here we have a very interesting article from the Daily Crusader. Clinton team member Claude Taylor openly accuses Zionist Alan Dershowitz of a disgusting predilection. Alan Dershowitz tweeted out, "Why don't you have the guts to directly accuse me so I can sue you for defamation and prove you're lying? Coward." Claude Taylor states, "I accuse you directly. You had repeatedly with minor victims provided to you by Jeffrey Epstein." One of the top members of the Clinton team, Claude Taylor, has just openly accused Alan Dershowitz of engaging in a disgusting predilection with known child offender Jeffrey Epstein. These allegations, coupled with allegations covered by the Harvard Crimson that Epstein allegedly directed second woman to have relations with Harvard professor Dershowitz, court documents state, are truly damaging. Dershowitz, a lifelong Democrat who endorsed Hillary Clinton in 2008 and later endorsed Barack Obama after he defeated Hillary in the primary, has been somewhat pro-Trump, and many believe he took his position because he expected President Trump to overlook his past indiscretions with Epstein and rumors of his involvement with the Lolita Express. Dershowitz is famous for being the man who got O.J. Simpson off the hook. We at the Daily Crusader wonder if this will bring the O.J. case back into the spotlight, with rumors circling in recent years that O.J. Simpson's son may have been the actual murderer. Wow, I haven't heard that one. Here's a tweet from the Daily Beast, trash rag. Billionaire Jeffrey Epstein has settled a lawsuit with a woman who alleged that he forced her into acts with and directed her to have relations with Alan Dershowitz. Well, this is pretty crazy right here. I'm not going to actually cover the Daily Beast story because I don't really care for the Daily Beast, but it's extremely interesting to me that a member of the Clinton team would be accusing anyone else of having these particular predilections. I feel like this is a bit of deflection, and they are attacking Dershowitz simply because he is speaking about the law and how things really ought to be based upon how the law is written, because anytime they've got an opportunity to criticize someone who has anything pro-Trump to say, they're going to go ahead and do it. But this particular allegation was very interesting. All I know is that Alan Dershowitz has not been prosecuted or charged with these allegations. So Alan Dershowitz, in my mind, deserves to have the benefit of the doubt. But I also do know that he spent quite a lot of time on the Lolita Express. So I also think that Alan Dershowitz deserves a day in court. And in our first report from a publication called The Week, we have an interesting report coming out of Afghanistan. CIA-managed forces in Afghanistan are reportedly conducting torture and killings with near impunity. Afghan strike forces overseen by the CIA are operating with little care for preventing civilian casualties, a lengthy New York Times report details Monday, and the brutality has fostered local populations' sympathy for the Taliban. The CIA-managed teams work unconstrained by battlefield rules designed to protect civilians, conducting night raids, torture, and killings with near impunity, the Times reports, citing Afghan and American officials. Those abuses are actively pushing people toward the Taliban, the official says, and as the U.S. military footprint in the country has declined from its 2011 peak of about 100,000, these strike forces are increasingly the way that a large number of rural Afghans experience the American presence. Unconfirmed reports suggest some raids may even include American operatives. Though the strike forces are considered more effective than their counterparts without CIA sponsorship, their successes against militants are mixed, with ruthless but inaccurate targeting of innocent people. In one case, 2 brothers were killed as they watered their fields before dawn after receiving permission from the local security outpost. In another, a night raid on a family home ended with 3 adults summarily executed and the homes in flames. A 3-year-old girl, Marina, was found burned to death in a local bedroom. Local investigators concluded the victims were innocent and the raid was an atrocity. In these and other cases the Times investigated, victims were at a loss for where to seek justice or an explanation of why they had been raided or subjected to torture. The CIA, of course, declined to comment to the New York Times. Well, this is a really interesting report to me because, as I'm sure you're all well aware, the Taliban came to power through the assistance of the CIA. They were initially the Mujahideen, and the CIA trained and armed them to fight the occupying Russian forces in the early 80s. So now that the Taliban is in power again, in certain places, and the United States is, virtually completely going to be leaving Afghanistan, we have the CIA once again arming teams of mass murderers who go throughout the country and kill with impunity. So is the CIA trying to set up some job security? Are they attempting to put together another band of moderate rebels, quote unquote, so that we have a reason to stay there, so that they have a reason to remain there, and so that they can protect their interests in the form of Afghan poppies? Well, we'll have to see how this one pans out. And in our last story of our first broadcast of the new year, another story from the week. Vatican spokesperson and his deputy resign ahead of key summit on sexual abuse crisis. The top spokesperson for the Vatican has unexpectedly announced his resignation. Greg Burke said on Twitter Monday that he will resign as the spokesperson for the Vatican effective January 1st, as will his deputy, Paloma Garcia Ovejero. At this time of transition in Vatican communications, we think it is best the Holy Father is completely free to assemble a new team, he wrote. This comes after a previous shakeup of the Vatican communications staff, which came after Pope Francis named a new editor of the Vatican newspaper and a new editorial director for Vatican Media, the Associated Press reports, adding that the resignations clearly took the new team by surprise. The Vatican's communications head said this was their autonomous and free choice per CNN. The Vatican will hold a crucial summit in February to discuss abuse within the Catholic Church. In August, a grand jury report said that more than 300 priests in Pennsylvania had been accused of abusing children, prompting other states to launch their own investigations into the church, per CNN. Numerous church officials were removed from their positions amid accusations they committed or helped cover up abuse, and the Vatican has faced criticism for its handling of the crisis. One former diplomat called the Pope Francis to resign after he was accused of helping to cover up sexual abuse allegations against former Cardinal Theodore McCarrick. The Church's Global Summit will take place on February 21st. Now, I guess the obvious question here is, are these people resigning because they were key in the communication scandal, the actual decision to refer to these things or not refer to them, rather, and to just kind of ignore them, and for the Pope to just, come out and just make bland statements, like not necessarily really condoning this behavior or not even acknowledging it? Or is it that they don't want to be a part of this machine any longer? Well, I would certainly hope that it would be the latter, but if it was their decision to treat these people and the things that they endured in the way that the church and the Pope has up until now, I think it's a good thing that they're taking a step back. Well, perhaps we can add these people's names to our list of growing notable resignations per our favorite research subject. Well, thank you everyone for joining me on our first of many, broadcasts for the new year, 2019. I hope that everyone has a safe and happy New Year's Eve. I hope that everyone got home in one piece, and I hope that you weren't too hard on yourself or your friends. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I am Red Pill 78. This is Red Pill News, and I am, as always, the corruption detector. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.